appreciate the rain. Written by Rosé Black. I used to hate it, not just hate, despise it. I loathe having my clothes soaked, and the pitter pattering of it on the roof drove me crazy. Stepping in the mud puddles was an extra annoyance, and not to mention ruining what would otherwise be bright, sunny days. However, that all changed one night. I had just gotten off work. Tired from a long shift, I called an Uber to have me picked up. I glanced at the sky, seeing how overcast it was, hoping my ride would be here before the rain came down. He did technically arrive after it began. Thankfully, though, it was before it got really started pouring.
How are you doing?
I'm alright. Just a little tired.
I feel ya. Can you believe this weather? I checked it earlier and it said only like a 2% chance of rain.
Well, I guess it was a big 2%.
You can say that again. Anyway, because of it, getting to your neighborhood would take a little longer.
That's fine. Let me know when we're close. He gave me a nod and then turned forward. As he drove us out of the parking lot, I pulled out my phone to pass the time. While watching a video, I heard him say something that caught my attention.
What the hell?
Is something wrong?
Oh, it's nothing. I thought I saw something cross the street just now. I didn't get a good look at it though.
It was probably a deer. We get those sometimes around here. I looked back down at the video I was watching.
Yeah. Well, thing is, and maybe it was only my imagination, but I could have sworn it was running upright.
What? I asked, glancing back up at him. It had to be someone crossing the street.
I'm not too sure of that. Whatever crossed the street definitely has some antlers or at least horns.
At this point, I considered the possibility that he was messing with me. However, seeing his nervous expression in the rearview mirror made me reconsider this. Either he happened to be a really good actor, crazy, or worst of all, there really was something out there. Although I didn't show it, I began feeling uneasy as well. Just keep driving then. We'll be in my neighborhood soon. He did as told, focusing back on the road, and there was only silence between us for the next couple of minutes. Then I got a feeling of being watched. I felt like someone's eyes were burrowing into the back of my head. I didn't want to look back. It was as though my neck was being controlled by puppet strings. Standing dead center of the road with the rain pouring down around it was the creature. It didn't exactly have antlers, but it didn't exactly have horns either. It's hard to explain. What I did find clear was that this thing was clearly not meant to be seen by human eyes. What saved mine as well as my driver's sanity was the rain. Yes, The very thing that I despised for my entire life up until then was now the only thing shielding me from seeing that creature in its entirety. Although the rain obscured most of it, I did see some other features of it. The most striking thing about it was its eyes. It didn't only have two. It had eyes covering its entire body. They were all human-like in appearance, and each one was a different color that glowed with a dim light. In them, I saw only the gaze of a hungry predator.
Hey, are you alright?
Drive faster. He didn't reply, but instead pressed harder on the gas. I didn't need him to tell me he knew I had seen it too. The fear in his eyes made that perfectly clear. It wasn't happy with the fact that we were speeding up. I didn't understand what I was seeing at first. Then it registered to me that it was growing taller. Already being tall, this caused it to be a staggering height. Its legs weren't the only thing growing. It was only then that I noticed that its front legs weren't really legs at all. They were more akin to the arms of an ape. They too grew along with its fingers. Despite how unnerving that was to see it, was only the second most terrifying thing it did. The first when it let out a screech and gave chase.
Jesus Almighty H. Christ.
My driver said, looking in his rearview mirror and seeing what I had. It was impossibly fast, catching up to us with ease. Go faster.
What do you think I'm doing? I'm already pushing past 100.
We can only hope we'd reach my neighborhood before it could reach us. Unfortunately, things didn't turn out that way. I returned my gaze out on the back windshield and found it was no longer on the road. I informed my driver of this.
Maybe a gift. Oh shit!
He yelled. It had gotten in front of us. He slammed on his brakes, trying to stop and presumably about to make a sharp U-turn. It didn't give him the chance. Its arms shot forward, seizing his car by the sides, flipping it with ease. We screamed as it went into the air for a moment and then fell onto the road on its roof, resulting in the window shattering. I remember my teeth clattering on impact. I'm lucky that I didn't end up biting my own tongue off. What wasn't lucky is the fact various shards of glass were now sticking into my ribs and chest. That, coupled with the fact I hit my head, was causing me to rapidly lose consciousness. My driver was still conscious as he approached the vehicle. Having gotten closer to us, it became more visible even through the rain. I thought my mind would break at that moment, but by some miracle, a gust of wind blew some rain into my eyes, blurring them. Through my now limited vision, I made out one of its arms going into my driver's window, grabbing him, then yanking him out, screaming. His other arm stretched towards me, and that's when I finally passed out. I woke up later in the hospital. The doctors told me it was a wonder I was still alive. As it turned out, we were close enough to my neighborhood for what some of my neighbors thought was a car wreck to be heard. I'm thankful to them for calling an ambulance and to the paramedics who got me to the hospital. They had to defibrillate me on the way there, and I required a lot of blood, as well as bandages, plus stitches. Some cops were there to take my statement. I knew that telling them the truth would get me thrown in a straitjacket. Therefore, I instead told them a deer caused my driver's car to be flipped. That's sort of true. They thankfully didn't press me for further questions. It took many months of physical therapy, but I'm happy to say that I've managed to make a full recovery. I've also gotten a new job because my previous one let me go for missing too many days. Personally, I think it's better this way. The job I have now is so close that I can walk to it. Plus, I don't have to take that godforsaken road anymore. Speaking of which, my experience isn't an isolated incident. Since then, which was over 2 years ago now, a number of accidents and disappearances have occurred along that road. Due to this, the road has been condemned. I'm not sure when it appeared or if it's always been there. Maybe it's some kind of extra-dimensional being that decided to come into our world. Maybe it's a forest spirit awakening, enraged by humanity encroaching on its territory. So far, I'm the only one who has survived seeing, and I think I know why. The answer is something I try not to think about for the sake of my mental health. I believe the reason it didn't take me because technically I have been dead. That means it only wants live prey to do what with them I have no clue. Nor do I wish to ever find out. Sometimes when it's raining, I'll stare out my window and think about that night and how it kept me from fully seeing that creature. I almost think of it akin to a mother shielding her impressionable toddler from seeing something that could scar them for life. Did some force looking out for me cause the storm that saved me, or had it merely occurred by coincidence? In either case, the steady pitter-pattering of it on my roof I now find very relaxing. Hey guys, Chelsea Stowicki here. This was requested by Rosé Black. You can follow her on Twitter, Patreon, or her coffee. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay wicked, everyone.